Hi friends, if you had tuned in to the Facebook Live this morning, this is that second video that I was promising you guys. It's going to be very short, very brief. Just a couple extra things you can keep in mind as far as if you're doing your kitchen witchery. Now, as I've said before, my patron house goddess is Vestia and Hesta. So it is kind of like that Greek Roman equivalent. But we're going to start with our stove. So some mornings, because I'm using my countertops and I don't have a lot of room, I will set like an altar or a semblance of an altar up on my stove. Now this does not have to be a full-blown altar. It does not have to have all the 4 quarters. It does not, altars are very personal, so just make that how you would like to do it. So again, I still have our candle going from our Facebook Live this morning because it is Friday and it's a Venus day. I'm finishing out my Mercury retrograde candle because I just like to finish those all the way down. The sigil on there, of course, is the Health and Immunity sigil from Laura Tempest Zackroft that is available on our website and on our Facebook page. That's a free download. She's made that accessible to everybody. And just some of the things I used this morning. I used some Palo, I used some Bay. This is my candle that I've set up for like Vestia, Hesta. I kind of use them interchangeably. The energetics are slightly different, but I feel that, the Divine Feminine knows what I'm saying, so I don't get too caught up on words. I try to allow myself just to work with the feelings. But I do have, these are dried orchid flowers that have fallen off my orchid, just to kind of bring some more positive energy into the space. I'm also using a Van candle, but that also brings positive energy into the home. Now, I had set up this gray bowl just in case my candle would leak, or I'm just super careful about flames. But I also like that aspect that it feels like, it very much feels like a cauldron type of energetic. Now, another thing you can use for your cauldron, don't forget, is if you have an iron skillet, most people do, you can use that for your cauldron. Just be careful not to get wax in there, because then you have to start from ground zero and reseason. And just very briefly, you can also Google blessings for your stove. So that way, much like we used to have a hearth inside of our house, now we have stoves and now we're modern. So you can also do a blessing for your stove for any work that you do there. So some of the things in my kitchen, of course, are a lot of these plants that you guys have seen in the background. I have chives, I have basil, parsley. This giant thing here is catmint, keeps my cats happy. Clover, which started off just as a tiny little thing, and it's now everywhere, which is fine. I don't mind it. Clover is really good for abundance. So this morning, coming back to our spices, we had talked about how to keep your correspondences convenient for you, because everybody does not have time to spend hours and hours looking up correspondences for things they're working with. So like here we have, this is Hecate's sage. This was gathered quite a while back. It was 2009. It was gathered on a waning moon. It's called Hecate's sage because it came out of Hecate's garden that I had at the other place I lived, where me and my partner had built a bed to Hecate. So much like other spices, if you grind it between your fingers and you don't smell it, like you don't smell the oils coming out of it, it's probably time to let it go. And I did just test this before I jumped on. It has a tiny bit of smell left, but I'll probably end up using it as just an offering, just because there was so much intent put into it. I don't want to just throw it out. So you can make this next part as fancy or not fancy as you want, but like for sage, the planet Jupiter, also the planet of the moon, and of course we know it's good for protection, cleansing, the energetic of the crone, also of Samhain, all stuff we would normally know. But if you're new, you might not know this, so you could always take it and put it on your jar just like that. Here's another one I've done for turmeric. Sometimes these end up in a box, so I put the label on the top sometimes. So turmeric is, of course, Sunday, the sun, healing, strength, and vitality. But the thing is, it's like after you have these on your jars and you see them all the time, then that kind of helps you remember. I'm a person that learns through repetition. It's just the way my brain works. So every time I see it, then it puts it back in my head. And you can do that with like any of your spices. You could even do it with like canned goods. You could write it on there in a marker if you wanted to. And honestly, if I had time in my life, I would probably spend a lot of time putting magic into my food. You know, it's nourishment, so it helps us both in our body, our mind, and our spirit. So anyway, that is kind of the Cliff Notes version there on working with some of the herbs that way. I would remind you, now I am not here to be the spices and food police, so just keep that in your brain. Everybody has their own opinions. So while this is a Walmart brand, while I would not normally use these, and that's just my preference, I'm not slamming anything. Use what you have. If that's what you can afford, then again, your incense is your most important part of your work. But I try to kind of up-level my spices a little bit as I go. I try to buy stuff that I know is either organic, or if it is the people that harvested the spices were treated humanely and paid a fair working wage. But you know, I can't afford to do that with everything. If you know, as you look here, there is no saffron in this bunch. I am not at that point where I'm investing in saffron. But use what you have. So all of these came from my next door neighbor who moved out, and she's like, I'm just going to buy new stuff. Would you want these? And I thought, sure, I could still use those on my, you know, in my magical workings, and heaven forbid, if I run out of Italian seasoning, I'm going to use that. But don't allow yourself to get caught up in, you know, brands and names. Again, what you're using is the most important part of anything that you do. So anyway, that's kind of it in a little nutshell this morning. This is kind of where we're usually at when we're filming from Mel's house, Mel's apartment. It's a very, very old house. But I thought you guys might like to see this little bit here, if I can get it turned around. This is our little camera mount that I'm always like having some issues with. But it's mounted on the side of the door, just like that. And then I just move it to wherever I need it to be. Now, another thing you can do if you have extra cabinet space, which I do not, is there is the tradition of putting an altar inside of your cabinet. So then whenever you cook, you open the door to like encourage that spirit to come out and into your space. I do not have the luxury of a lot of cabinets. But that's just another thing that you can do. And of course, you can bless anything that you're working on, including your appliances, like your blender. So guys, that's it in a nutshell this morning. Just wanted to share a little more information with you that I was not able to share on the Facebook Lives. So I hope that is helpful to you and encourages you just to kind of think about how you use your kitchen, how you use your spices, and how you use your food. So I hope you guys have a wonderful day. And as always, Pathways is open 11 a.m. to 6 p.m. every day except Tuesdays when we're closed. That is for the time being due to COVID. If you need anything or have questions, please feel free to call the shop, 314-842-0047. Anybody that picks up the phone can help you. And we did have some questions. This board is available for the time being. While stock lasts, they are $20. Okay, friends, that's our tour of the kitchen and spices, and I hope you have a wonderful day. Bright blessings.